The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to this morning's Monday morning helpline session with your host, James McDonald.
Well, thank you very much, Andrea. That's right. It is Monday morning, and that means it's our open forum Q&A. We can talk about anything you want today. I hope that all of you came ready with questions or topics of conversation. Every Monday morning we do this, and the sky's the limit. We can discuss anything you like. And by the way, a couple things here. First of all, on Friday, we did a really good ad clinic session that I would encourage you to go and listen to. If you weren't on there live on Friday, you should go back into the archives and take a look at that. We looked at not only the ads that were uploaded, but also we went and Craig looked at on the coaching website some of the very best examples that you should be doing to form what we'll call the platform or the foundation of your lead generation system. And I thought it was a really good webinar, and we had a lot of feedback afterwards. So if you didn't, or you want to listen to it again, Fridays was really good. Okay, now also this month it is August the 1st, so we're in August now, and obviously we have our Toronto Super Conference coming up, and I know that there are some of you that are attending, but far more are going to be coming in October to the Anaheim Super Conference. And I know that Todd Walters, who heads up our Platinum program, just put out an agenda for all of the coaching and Platinum members. It's going to be absolutely phenomenal. So I know it's not until October, but you want to start thinking about that now. And if you go onto the coaching site, you can see here all of the various live events that are going to be coming up. But that event coming up in Anaheim in October is going to be really phenomenal. And we do have a Florida boot camp. That's just a one-day boot camp for those of you that got started in the program using the system in Florida a month ago. So a couple live events there. And it's really important that from time to time you come and see us and we spend a day working on your business. That's why we do these events. They really do have a huge impact. So you can look at it and say, oh boy, what a pain in the neck. I've got to travel around. But honestly, the way you want to look at it is 2 or 3 times a year to put everything aside and go and work on your business. What you're doing is you're essentially retooling the factory. You know, a couple times a year the factory closes down for a day or two and they retool so that the factory can be more efficient, more profitable, and this is called normal. But it really does have that impact on your business coming to these live events a few times a year. So mark those down. Notice that they're always listed on the coaching website, and we really look forward to seeing you coming up at those live events. Okay, now Andrea, why don't you take the bull by the horns here? And is that a Texas term, take the bull by the horns?
I was just going to say that sounds very Texan.
Yeah, well, very good. All right, I'm coming around, see?
That's right.
Slowly but surely. Yeah. So why don't we get started, Andrea, and we'll take questions in any form that they're presented to us.
And we already have some questions submitted and some hands raised. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and type your question or comment in the chat box or raise your hand by clicking the hand icon on your control panel. Our first guest is Daniel Pilson. He both typed and raised his hand, so I'm going to open your mic, Daniel.
Oh, yeah. Hi. Good morning.
Good morning, Daniel. How are you today?
Okay, good. I did have a question. I said, how do we get cell phone users who won't call you back because you're not on their contacts list to call you? They don't call you back no matter how many times you call, since obviously you're not on their list.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you're not going to get a hold of everybody, so that's for sure. Now, here's what you've got to figure out is, does this happen with virtually everybody that you're calling, or is it happening with some? I'll tell you what, if you're doing an amazing job, you will not speak to 25% of the leads that you generate. Even though you've got a phone number, even though you're calling them, a quarter of them will never answer the phone. They just won't do it, which means we're really only working in the best case scenario with 75% of the leads that are actually going to, at some point, with diligence, pick up the phone. Now, here's what I would recommend is that you need to know what shows up when you call them. In other words, if you were to call me, what would show up on my call display when you call me? What shows up? Is it a phone number? Is it your name? Is it a private number? What shows up? Because what shows up matters to the prospect's decision as to whether or not they're going to take that call if they're available to do so.
Well,
now, what I would sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, what does show up is in the cell, and at least as I checked in the cell phone world, the only thing that will show up is the number and the city. But barring that, the cell phones do not have mostly this is cell phones, and they don't have the capability of landlines to tell who might be calling. So it only shows up the phone number and the city.
Okay, well now here's what's critical then. You need to make sure that, and I assume this is the case, most of the leads that you're calling from the exact same area code and city that your phone is showing them on their caller display. In other words, it needs to look like a local number that's calling them. When you call your prospect back and they're looking on their phone at the call display, they need to see a local phone number. So I live in Carlsbad. When my cell phone rings and it's someone calling from Carlsbad, it needs to say Carlsbad and a local phone number from Carlsbad. And the reason is because when I see that, I assume it's somebody that I know that's calling me. Not know, maybe not know, but in other words, it doesn't look like a solicitation, because solicitations are 1-800 numbers, they're out-of-state numbers, or they're blocked numbers. Those are the telltale signs of a telemarketer. Out-of-state, private, blocked, 1-800 numbers. If I see that on my phone, 100% for sure I'm not answering, because I know it is a solicitation of some kind and it isn't something that I need to consider taking. But if you call from...
I could tell you that basically the number that shows up is my local number, and it shows that I'm from the local area. So so that's what.
Okay, that's good. All right. Well, you know what? Honestly, barring that, all I would recommend is you try this. When you call and it goes to voicemail, immediately hang up and then call them back within 5 minutes again.
I do that.
Try that. Yeah, okay. Try that.
The other point I would make, and I just, this is something that you could, check, as you go through the coaching members statistically, but because of the cell phone use is so prolific that it's not 25%, that's livable, but even this number of 50% I'm giving you, I can say that 50% of the people I know, as we march down the world today, it changes all the time. The world today, that people are so sensitive that 50% of them are not allowing the phone, their cell numbers to be called.
Right. Here's the one thing that you have to take comfort in understanding. Every single user of the system is following up with the leads exactly the same way. So when somebody is on our panel on stage and says, we did 140 transactions last year, that means every one of those transactions, they had to reach out and get them to answer the phone. So we're not debating whether or not prospects will answer the phone. A lot of them will not answer the phone, but enough will that clearly somebody did 140 transactions because people did answer the phone. So I'm not, I'm not suggesting this utopian world where everybody's going to answer the phone when you call. That's never going to happen. I'm also not suggesting that they will answer on the first attempt. On the very first attempt to call them back, you might get a very low percentage. You might only get 1 out of 10 to actually answer the phone on the very first attempt to call them. My number that I'm suggesting is if you're doing an incredible job, 25% will still never answer the phone. What is an incredible job? That means calling them 10 times over and over and over again at different times, setting up a schedule where you're constantly reaching out and trying to get a hold of the prospects that have requested information from you. And I say 10. There's somebody on the line in our Platinum group that would say, I do it 20 times. That's the kind of diligence that I'm talking about. Now, I know everybody isn't necessarily set up and equipped to be able to follow up with one given lead that many times. I just want you to know that to get to that number of reaching 75% of the leads you generate, that's what we're talking about. To reach 50%, Well, it's a little bit less. All we can do is focus on doing a really good job. And then when they do answer the phone, knowing how difficult it is to get somebody to answer the phone, we better be a 10 out of 10 on that universal callback script. When they answer the phone and they're thinking, I knew it, I knew I shouldn't have answered the phone, I got a realtor on the other line, we have to be really, really good at being able to say, my reason for calling is because you requested information from me. We've got to be really good at that so that we get somewhere with the ones that do answer the phone. But my point of taking comfort is virtually 100% of the students of the Craig Proctor system today, yesterday, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, every single one of them have this in common. The only way they are successful is by reaching the prospects by telephone that have raised their hands and asked for information. So we can argue, well, it gets more and more difficult every day. That might be true, but there are thousands and thousands of us that are doing it. So you can take comfort in knowing it is possible. Although it is a daunting task, it is possible.
Another one of our very successful members would like to note around election time, this becomes an issue for them, even though it doesn't harbor their business. They're saying a lot of the robocalls people are getting will make people not want to answer their phones around election time. So it's a lot of our members see this, but it's not affecting their leads.
When you get a call around election time, though, because I've been getting them too, it's never a local phone number that says Carlsbad. It's always from somewhere out of state. And if it's somewhere out of state, yeah, I ain't answering it. But if it's a local call, I'm like, that's the I don't know, the dry cleaner's auto call, or that's you know, I need to bring my car in to get serviced, or you know, it's not a solicitation. If it's a local call, your brain says it's less likely to be a solicitation. If it's out of state, it's a guaranteed solicitation. If it's a 1-800 number, it's guaranteed a solicitation. If it's a blocked number, guaranteed it's a solicitation. We will not take those calls. But if it's a local number, I'm not saying 100% you're going to answer the phone, but it's far more likely that you will answer the phone, especially if the number calls more than once. All right. Let's keep going, Andrea.
Okay, our next audio question comes from Deborah Cohen. Your mic is now open.
Hi, good morning. Do you hear me?
I can, Deborah. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Two things, so this partner and I were working together. He's not very computer literate, so far I've been logging things into Success myself, but I'm trying to figure out if you have an idea for how two people can make this work seamlessly. We're not under the same roof. That's my first question. And the second part is, he seems to be deviating from the script for the new buyers and going straight to find out if they're pre-qualified. I'm arguing that he has to stay with the script, so I want to know what you suggest.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously that's tough. I guess, you know, I think this may be more of a one-on-one conversation to have, but what I would bring up is this. What is the benefit of your partnership? Like, what was the reasoning behind doing this as a partnership versus doing it yourself?
First of all, we started out door knocking together, and he brings a lot more to the table than I have, besides a second language, experience, and also financially.
Okay, so why don't you separate your business, whereby the new business, the Craig Proctor business, is what you do, and what they bring to the table, they do. That way, both parties win. But if you're just overlapping, then all you're doing is duplicating your efforts. I don't see that as being any kind of advantage or benefit to a partnership. Remember, we practice specialization. If they've already got a book of business, then that's their benefit to the partnership. Your benefit is the Craig Proctor system and bringing the new business in and converting the leads using the universal script and following the system the way that it was designed. You need to practice specialization. Otherwise, all you're doing is you're duplicating your efforts. Now, there are more questions that I would ask you, not on this forum with everybody else, but more privately. But if you don't do it this way that I'm suggesting, inevitably what is going to happen is the partnership will be involved in way too much conflict. There'll be far, far too much conflict. And the reason being is because if you're both duplicating your efforts, then measurably one will be bringing more than the other. And that eventually will never, ever work. It never does in our experience. However, if you practice specialization and you're doing two completely different things, it erases the conflict, and instead it allows both to grow. So this is a conversation that you need to have probably with your one-on-one coach, maybe a little more in depth. But that is my suggestion. Because I'll tell you, if they're converting leads or trying to, and they're used to working with people they know or referred business, well, they're talking to complete and total strangers. It's not going to work. It's you know, that's not, I know that that's where their experience lies, but it's not going to work in this instance because we're not following up with people that know you. We're not following up with people that have been directly referred to. These are complete and total strangers that are more than willing to hang up on you, you know, if we don't do and say the right things. And you know that, but they need to know that as well.
Right. So to ask somebody on that follow-up call right away about pre-qualifying for mortgages, he's actually getting people saying, "I don't know," and they're sending him their financials. Is it such a terrible thing if you're doing it that way?
Well, I mean, they are. In other words, somebody did that. Don't be confused. When you are rewarded for bad behavior, you know, this is something realtors do all the time. I door knocked, yeah, I got somebody. Okay, but you've also done it 100 times and got nobody. Like, we can't say, well, I did this one time and somebody sent me their financials. Okay, but we're not interested in this time that somebody did that. We're looking for consistency, predictability. We want a system. If we do it the way that Craig invented, I assure you, you will get the result you're looking for 10, 20, 50 to nothing more than telling somebody, send me your financials. I want you to test that. You call back 10 leads and say, send me your financials. And don't be shocked when nobody does it. Just because one person did, we call that rewarded for bad behavior. If you are rewarded for bad behavior, it encourages you to do it again. And it's a bad idea. We're not looking for what worked one or two times. We're looking for what is the best result. And the best result by far is not scaring the crap out of people by asking them to send in their financials right off the bat. They were only looking for information. Let's determine their timing and motivation first. Determining their timing and motivation, then we can recommend a course of action. And if upon determining their timing and motivation, it would be appropriate to then talk about their financials, then we do it. But calling every prospect back and saying, hey, send me your financials, it's not going to work. There's just no question. In 25 years of Craig selling thousands and thousands of homes, following up with tens of thousands of prospects, I assure you, if that was the best approach, that's what we'd be teaching you right now.
Okay, I get it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to some of our chat question. Our first, Kathy, she says she's wanting to do her first ad on Craigslist, renters. Own, don't buy. Do you place it under the for rent or for sale section? And do you use a house picture instead of a text?
I would test it under both sections. I mean, generally speaking, you're going to get a higher quality of prospect under for sale because that means they're actively looking for properties for sale. So you're going to get more of the audience you want. However, if they'll allow you, a lot of times the medium will not allow you to run a homes for sale ad under homes for rent. But if they do allow it, then yes, it's definitely worth a test to do it there. Now, what was the other part of the question, Andrea? Use text?
Oh, instead of a picture, just using text. I believe that's what she meant.
Is it a classified ad?
Craigslist.
A Craigslist ad. Yeah, well, I mean, you can use a picture in there as well. It'll keep them on the page longer if you've got a picture, but it can't be a disqualifying picture. Make it a picture of like a kitchen or something like that, or what would be typically a first-time home buyer type of property in your marketplace, something like that. You know, because without a picture, what you'll find is the traction, they stay on the ad a lot less long, for a shorter period of time. All right, let's keep going.
Okay, our next question from Janet. I have 2 pay-per-click ads and a fair few leads come in with an inactive phone number, but the email is a real contact. Should I pursue them or not?
Well, if you have a name and they're requesting information, then you should be able to look up their name and see if you can get a phone number, and then call them on the phone number. So look them up, just do a Google search for their name and their address, and put in phone number and see what comes up. Barring that, if there is no other information, you can send an email and just have the email say, please complete all required fields in order to receive your requested information. And then have a link right back to the landing page. That's the email you're going to send them. Okay, please complete all of the required fields in order to receive your requested information. Click here, and the link goes right back to the landing page. In other words, if you go to a landing page that says provide your basic contact information and you don't, then you didn't ask for the information. Try again. Bounce back. Go right back again. Try again. Now, will most of them not do that? Yes. Will some of them? Yes, some of them will. Good. Those are the good ones. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for 2 good ones every day, not 15 who aren't good. They can go away. They're going to be filtered out. We only want the ones that are ready and serious. So that represents a small number of them, but we have to understand they're good. And so because they're good, we're going to diligently follow up with them, and we're going to do a really good job with the universal script when we reach them.
Okay, one of our members is asking, can you please clarify what a disqualifying photo means?
A disqualifying photo would mean a photograph of a property that isn't representative of what they're likely looking for. So in other words, if I respond to a first-time homebuyer ad and it shows me a picture of a mansion, or there's a photograph of a shack, then I've been disqualified right away. As soon as I click on that ad and I see that picture, I'm disqualified. That picture is absolutely nothing like what I am looking for. So immediately, without reading another word, I disqualify and I immediately click off. That's disqualifying. What is in an inclusive picture would be something that would be representative of what I'm likely looking for. So in your marketplace, can you think of what a typical first-time home buyer type of property might look like? Or what would the kitchen or the yard look like in what would be a typical first-time home buyer property? Those are the kind of images that you want to use, because they're far less likely to disqualify the audience that you're trying to attract. If you were running an ad that said upscale homes, then you would have a photograph of an upscale big kitchen, with really fancy fixtures and things like that. Because anyone looking for an upscale home would expect an upscale looking kitchen like that. So you're going to use photographs that are representative of what they're looking for, as opposed to disqualifying. That's what I mean by that.
Okay, our next question. I have heard presenters talk about what we should have on the back of our property sell sheets. Can you talk about that or tell me where to find it?
You'd probably find examples in the file library, but here's what you want to have on there. 2 things. One is you want to have, it's branded, right? So in other words, this is something that they've picked up on your property. 2 things. One, your unique selling proposition. You need to set yourself apart. If they're looking for a property, I would focus a unique selling proposition that focuses on a buyer. Buy a home through me, and if you're not, and if you don't love it, I'll buy it back. Something like that. Or a $5,000 home purchase savings guarantee, if that's something that you can do. So unique selling proposition is critical. But I would also have universal offers. Like, for example, if the home that you're showing has a swimming pool, or it's in a country club, then you would make an offer that says, free hot list of the best country club properties available in all price ranges in the area. If it's a home with a pool, it would say, free list of area pool homes in all price ranges. Make universal offers on anything that the prospect gets their hands on. So your unique selling proposition, because again, this is branded. It's branded to you. It's something they picked up at the open house or at the showing or at wherever they got it. And so anything that is branded, we need to associate with your unique selling proposition, and we need to make some universal offers that the prospect would find more difficult to disqualify. See, because understand, they're probably not going to buy that home. We know that. They're not going to buy that home. They're going to disqualify it. Now, I don't know why they're going to disqualify it, but there's a reason. So if we can offer them other properties, that's more difficult to disqualify, and now we can generate a good lead that way. All right, next question.
Sorry about that. I was reading one of the questions. It's from Laura. She says, I have one banker and one mortgage company who have very different products. Both of these people want to work with me with different marketing. I really don't want to add them to my landing pages with their direct info. I would prefer to send them the leads myself. Am I looking at this right, or should I share their information on my page?
Well, if they're going to help you pay for it, then yeah, you can share it on their page, or you can create their own page. See, this is the thing. If you want them to offset the cost of your marketing, then you need to allow them to advertise or to market so that you can show that they're getting something for what they're paying you, right? Otherwise, we're not allowed to take money from an affiliate like that. Okay, those are, in most instances anyway, that would be against the law. But they can pay you to advertise on your website. So this is where, here's the deal. Just because they're present on your website doesn't mean that when you're lead generating, anybody sees what they're advertising. Why would you send them to any page that talks about a mortgage company? You wouldn't. So they can be present there, but no one will see it. Allow them to be there, but if they're, for example, if they're on your homepage, who are you sending to your homepage? Where is anybody responding to go to your homepage? Very few places, right? If you're lead generating, you're never sending a prospect to your homepage. You're sending the prospect directly to the appropriate page on your website, whereupon they will never ever see your mortgage affiliate or any other affiliate. They would be, somewhere else on your website. So I think what you need to do is you need to look at a couple examples. This is something that you should talk to your coach about and take a look at their website and see how they have it set up with their affiliates. But the benefit to you of having them on there is it means they can now pay you to offset the cost of the marketing that drives traffic to the website, which ultimately helps the affiliate because it results in you referring business directly to them. And that's what they need to understand is, here's the process of how this works. I generate the lead, I convert the lead, I send them to you. You don't have to do anything. I've got a funnel that automatically sends leads directly to you. And why you would want to mess with that or change it and create more work for yourself and thus ruin it, if they understood the way the process worked, I think that they would be more cooperative in going along with it the way that it's been designed. Great question.
So Douglas has typed in a question. I've asked him for some clarification, but I'm going to go ahead and read it because maybe you'll understand what he's saying, James. How can you get listings into more websites?
How can you get listings into more websites? Well, first of all, I guess you're talking about your own individual listings. How do you post your own individual listings on more websites?
Yes, my listings.
Okay, well, I mean, first of all, you got to understand that advertising a property listing, isn't exactly that's not the foundation of the lead generation system that you're doing here. That's a supplement. What you're doing is you're pacifying your seller. So I'm not suggesting you not advertise your listings, that they be on Trulia and Realtor.com and wherever else prospects are looking. You can post ads there, and you should. But understand that overwhelmingly, the properties that you're advertising are simply being disqualified by the prospects. That's what is happening when you're advertising your own individual properties. But how you post them is no different than any other website. You have to set up an account and post your ads, and you'll have to pay for that. In most instances, it's a small amount of money, but remember, it's not really a lead generation source. The only way your property listings become a lead generation source is if you add in the verbiage a universal offer. So if you're advertising a home with a pool, you offer a free list of homes with pools. If you're advertising a property that's on the golf course, you talk all about this great property on the golf course, and you also offer for a free list of golf course community properties in all prices, visit, what have you. That the universal offer is what attracts leads, prospects. The individual property listing is, for the most part, disqualifying. You're doing it to show your seller you're putting forth an effort. Maybe we generate a lead here and there, and that's great. And where can we run those ads? There are multiple places we can run those ads. But again, don't be shocked when you don't generate, hundreds and hundreds of leads from advertising a individual property. You likely won't. But I mean, go talk to your broker, go talk to your office manager. Advertising a property listing is not a unique Craig Proctor system suggestion. It'd be like saying, how do we pick what doors we're going to knock on? It's not a Craig Proctor. That's advertising a property listing is not why you're doing this system. Generating leads is. So every agent advertises their property listings. That's not unique. Where they advertise them, not unique. Trulia, not unique. Everybody's doing exactly that. What is unique is lead generation. How do we make universal offers that we can run over and over and over again consistently and predictably? We can offer properties that are in high demand always, that never sell out, that never expire. Those are the lead generators that we want to focus on, because we can generate leads every day for the rest of our lives from those ads. Your property ad, that property is going to sell or expire. As soon as it does, the ad's gone, and you got to start all over again. So I'm not suggesting you not do that. I'm saying that's not the Craig Proctor system. That's what every realtor does, and there is no uniqueness in doing that. Next question, Andrea.
But just before we move on, and a couple of our members that I am familiar with are saying sometimes you have to appease your clients, your sellers, by putting it up. Yes, and a lot of brokers are using List Hub. You might want to check that out. It's an easy way to get your one listing on several sites without.
I don't know if it still exists, but the other one that was there was called Postlets. And I'm not sure. I haven't checked that out in a while, but Postlets did that as well, where you could run an ad on Postlets and it would automatically populate your ad on numerous websites as well. So there are some that do that, where you can advertise in one place and they will automatically populate your ad on many different websites. But understand, you're doing it for the benefit of the seller. You're showing the seller, look, I'm running your property ad in all of these places. I'm really putting forth a great effort to market your property. Look what I'm doing. But as far as the actual result of doing that, we all know what comes of it. And the answer is very little. What comes of making universal offers that offer many properties? Consistency and predictability. That's what we want to do.
So just a few FYIs. Postlets is owned by Zillow now. So Postlets was closed and I guess bought by Zillow.
Very good, Zillow.
So this question from Deborah, and I am not going to be able to help her, but I know, James, that you work with a Mac. We have a question about downloading the Keynote version of our presentations. And is that something that you are familiar with, James?
Yeah, Keynote, that's what I use. So in other words, instead of PowerPoint, now you can download a PowerPoint if you just do a Google search for PowerPoint for Mac. there is an actual PowerPoint conversion, and you wouldn't know the difference. It works exactly the same as it does on a PC. But what Mac has is called Keynote, and I've just become familiar with it. It does exactly what PowerPoint does. So Keynote version just means you got to familiarize yourself with Keynote as opposed to PowerPoint, but I'm telling you, they're almost exactly the same. There are a couple little things that are a little bit different, but you'll figure it out very, very easily. It does exactly what PowerPoint does. It's how you give a slide presentation. So the buyer presentation, the listing presentation, whether it's using Keynote on a Mac or PowerPoint on a PC, they're identical.
And she's saying it's a mini iPad, which I'm also not familiar with.
Yeah,
but it should work the same.
It'll work the same, yeah. On an iPad Mini, it'll work exactly the same as it would, even on your phone.
And she's clarifying that she's tried to do it, but she can't. So my suggestion, if it's not working,
you can't do it.
Yeah, she says that it will work, but that she just can't save it. So your best bet would be to email Adrian or give him a call at our office, because he will definitely be able to help you with that. Adrian at craigproctor.com, or just call our office directly, Deborah.
It's ADRIAN at craigproctor.com, ADRIAN at craigproctor.com. And just send him an email and say, just let him know you're trying to download and save the Keynote version of the PowerPoint presentations on your iPad Mini, and you're having problems, any suggestions, and he will either give you a call or just respond with the easy answer to do it. He may say, for all I know, oh, you can't do it on that, but I can't see why. So
I know. I was going to say it's probably just something really simple, but I don't own any of those products, so I wouldn't be able to help you at all. Okay, another question that I'm not really sure about, but maybe you'll understand, James, from Paul. Is there an app that we can use on an Android device so we can access the platform in the field?
An app.
And if he's talking about like the coaching member site, I don't know. I don't understand what he means by the platform.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, it's not exactly an app, but, like on my phone, I have, it's not really an app, I guess, but I don't know if it's like a little thing that you can click on. It takes you right to the Craig Proctor website. So, I mean, unless you're talking about your contact management system, but for example, if you're using something like Wise Agent as your contact management system, then yes, you can access that directly from your phone.
Yes, I have an Android cell phone, and all I did was just save a bookmark to my homepage, and that's how I access, when I'm away from my office, how I get on the member site, if that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a couple of hands, so we'll move on to those. Paul Vacco, your line is now open.
Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Hi, Paul.
Okay, sorry about that. My question is about Google pay-per-click. I have like 212 keywords, and Success website has been helping with that and making adjustments. However, I went ahead and called Google myself and talked to them so I could better understand the AdWords,
Sure.
portion of it on my side, just better understand it so I knew what Success was doing. They said that it was not a good idea to have 212 keywords. You should only have 30 to 40 keywords, and they showed me that a lot of them were not being used, or they were just bad. So they told me to pause them and delete them. If I go ahead and do that, is that going to conflict with what Success is doing? And what's going to happen?
Well, you're paying for this, so ultimately you're the tester. Okay, think of it this way. Of course, Success website know what they're doing, but I want you to think of it this way: they're the technical, you're the marketer. Your job as the marketer is to test different approaches, to not keep doing the same thing if you're always seeking out to get a different and better result. If you're always seeking to get a different and better result, then you cannot just leave it the same. We got to do something different. So here's what you could do. You could experiment and test not on all of the different ads, but on some of them, changing the keywords, removing the keywords. And what if you had an ad where you set up a pay-per-click campaign that only had 10 keywords. That's it, the main 10 keywords that you're looking for. Test it head-to-head against the other campaigns that have 100, and let's see what happens.
Okay, I only have one campaign right now, but what I guess I'll do is I'll pause those keywords that are not getting any generation at all and see what happens.
Yes, what I'd rather you do is, why don't you test another campaign? But I mean, obviously, the more keywords that you use, the more likely it is that your ad is visible, but it means it's going to cost more money. And it also means that it's being seen by probably those that maybe don't represent prospects.
Right. Yeah, Google recommended only 30 to 40 keywords that work well, not an extra 100 that don't generate anything, because if no one's searching for them, it'll work against you on the search.
Well, but even if they are searching, what it means is you're going to capture people that aren't searching for real estate. You're going to capture people that are maybe looking for related, but they're not prospects, in other words. So you're paying to have your ad visible to people that really aren't searching for real estate for sale. That's the danger of having too many keywords, is that as we drift away from the keywords, they become less and less about real estate.
Well, Success put them all in there, and they look like they are, they might have the word Florida in front of my city name, and those aren't working at all, versus the word Florida after the city name. So they said you need to just pause those or get rid of them. So I guess what I'll test. I will test, and I'll see what happens.
Definitely test. But what you always want to try to do, Paul, if you can, is you always would prefer a head-to-head test. In other words, you keep what you're doing the same, and then you test against what you're doing currently. That way you're comparing apples to apples. Whereas if you remove and stop that, then we have no base of comparison. So keep one exactly as it is, and then create a new campaign that competes head-to-head against what you're currently doing.
I see. Okay, very good.
And then there'll be a winner.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. You're very welcome. Thank you, Paul.
We have Lee Brickey with his hand raised. Go ahead.
Hey, how you doing this morning, Jen?
Good. How are you, Lee?
I'm good. Okay, so I got this, the new sink, right? And so it's pouring leads in. And I'm getting a lot of buyers now that are a year out, or 12 months, 6 months to 12 months out. And on the buyer, I know on the seller side we have the gold plan, but on the buyer side, I don't want to lose those either. So, what's your advice there, so that I can keep? Because I have a bunch of just so you know, I have a bunch of rental clients from last year, and they're buyers too. I've got about 50 of them, and so I'm calling them once a month and just checking on them, but they're my friends. So these people are not my friends yet. I haven't really built a relationship, and some of them are even out of state because they want to move to Florida. They want to get a place down here. So I just don't want to lose them.
Okay, so I'm going to recommend two things. Well, three altogether. Okay, the first is this. Putting them on some kind of a branded newsletter, even if it's just from your Success website, any kind of branded newsletter is an easy thing to offer. Say, hey, you know what, I've got a newsletter that's got information on Florida, real estate information, stuff like that. It's free. Would you like me to send that to you every month? Get them to say yes. So now you've got something that you're sending them. What I would also recommend, though, is that you send them a snapshot of properties that match what they're looking for. Not on a daily basis, but a snapshot. So, for example, maybe once a month or once every 2 weeks, you can send them an email with a snapshot of properties that are on the market, maybe a half a dozen properties that are in their price range or in their area or what they're looking for. Yeah, that's something else that you can automatically set that up. But here's the big point that I want to make is what you want to be figuring out with these prospects is this. Are you actively looking? I know you're not buying right now, but Lee, are you actively looking for properties right now? Are you driving around? Are you looking online? Have you gone to open houses? Are you actively looking for properties? It's a yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
If the answer is no, then you should continue the drip campaign. Put them on your newsletter, send them snapshots every other week or every month of properties, and keep following up by phone. If the answer is, yeah, we've been looking, we drive by once in a while, we'll look at a property, we've been to some open houses, then you need to compel them to come in and meet with you so that you can set them up on your VIP buyer service. Remember, the buyer contract is for 6 or 12 months. It doesn't obligate them to buy a home today. All it says is this: if you're looking for a property, I can do a way better job of helping you find it. There's no cost. There's no obligation. You're not obligated in any way. I can offer you a cancellation guarantee. But if you're looking for a property, allowing me to help you is a much better way of doing it than doing what you're doing all by yourself, combing the internet, driving around, burning gas, trying to find what you're looking for. If somebody says, we're not ready to buy until October, but you know what, we are looking right now. We go online every day, every weekend we go to open houses. You need to get them in the office and get them signed to a buyer contract. It doesn't matter that they're not buying anything till October. They're looking now, and the buyer contract's good for 6 months.
Now, what do I do with the people that, like, right now I have like 5 up north, like they're New Yorkers and they want to come down here?
You want to find out when they're coming.
Right.
Send them the newsletter, put them on a drip, send them properties, every other week, send them some properties to wet their whistle and let them know that you're the provider of this information. But when you follow up with them, all you should care is, when are you coming here? Because they're not buying a place there without coming.
Okay. Yeah,
so they are
down
coming there. And if they say we have no plans to come, then that speaks to their motivation.
Right.
Somebody who's not coming they're not super motivated yet. So you can take that for what it means, which is we're getting there, but we're really not that motivated right now. So motivated people have a plan.
So just keep in touch with it, because what I've been doing is I've been putting them on a drip, and then I watch them on my site. And then, because if they come back, I can see they log back in. And then I'm calling them like once a month, just saying, hey, and then, so.
Well, I would do this. When you call them back, instead of saying, hey, what you want to find out is if they're out of state, you want to find out if they have any plans of coming to the area to look at properties.
Okay.
And I would follow up with them in half the time they indicate. So instead of treating them all the same and calling them back once a month, here's the problem with doing it that way. For the ones, you're going to find at some point that you're too late. A month is too long a period of time, right? And you miss them. Or it's too frequent and they're not planning on coming for a year and you're calling them every month. You don't need to do that. What you want to do is, with each one individually, you want to cut their time in half. If they say, we're planning on coming around the holidays, then you don't need to be calling them every month. You can put them on a drip and you can follow up with them in early October. Call them back in half the time. Right? If somebody says, I'm coming in a month, well, then you don't want to wait a month to call them. You want to call them back in, a couple of weeks. Okay. Don't treat all the prospects like they're all equal. They're not. Some of them their timing is sooner than others, and some of them are more motivated now than others. We want to individually, based on our conversation with them, we want to base our follow-up on their unique individual timing. And the general rule is call them back in half the time. If somebody says, look, Lee, we're not doing anything for a year. We won't be coming down there for a year. You do not need to be calling them every month. Call them during the holidays, right? Give them a call during the holidays and let them know what you've been sending them, and if you want to change their criteria, or you can send them, customize their search a little bit. And by the way, are you still planning on coming down here, whenever? That's what you want to do. Always remember, the purpose of this phone call, determine their timing and motivation. But for you, if they're out of state, timing is most important.
Okay.
All right?
Thanks.
Good stuff. Thanks, Lee.
Our next question from John. He says, what's a good quote or script for callbacks that tell me either this is the wrong number or this is not the individual who filled out the information on the website?
Thank you very much. Have a great day. Like, you're not going to win that argument. So, okay, let me get this straight. Andrea, you call me and ask for James. Please.
Oh, sorry. Hi, is James there?
No, you've got the wrong number.
Oh.
This is not James. James, there's no one named James here at all. Like,
Thanks.
there really is nowhere to go with that, okay? I'm not, listen, there's no magic. This is not magic. Here's the problem. What you're focusing on is the exception, not the rule. So, in a month, that might happen once. Just say, have a great day, thank you very much. But most of the time, you are going to be calling the person that requested the information. When the phone is answered, it is going to be answered by the person that requested the information most of the time, but not all the time. We're not going to make a system that revolves around the exception. We're going to make it based on the rule. But what if they said this? Oh, yeah, James isn't here right now. James isn't here right now. Okay, well, then now you know you have the right phone number. Okay, so what you might want to be able to say is this. If it sounds like maybe it's their spouse, you could say, oh, is this James's wife? Or, you know, you can ask a logical question like that if it sounds like it might be. And then you can continue on the script. Remember, a prospect on the phone is better than a follow-up and trying to reach the prospect later on. But you may have to resort to that. So let's say that Andrea asks for Mrs. McDonald. And I answer the phone. I say, no, she's not available right now. And Andrea says, oh, okay, well, it's Andrea calling from Remax Omega Realty. Is this Mr. McDonald? Yes. Okay, well, your wife had requested information on an area home sales report on my website, and I was just calling as a courtesy to let her know that I did provide and email that information last night. I hope that's okay. You know, I'm not sure if you got that. By the way, you folks planning on making a move in the next 3 to 6 months? You'd rather have that conversation with one of the partners than with nobody. Now, what if they say, I don't know anything about this, Andrea? I don't know anything about this. You're going to have to talk to her. She's crazy. Just talk to her about it. Okay. Is there an alternate number, or do you have a cell phone number for your wife that I can reach her on? Right? I mean, you're the one that suggested I call them. What's her cell phone number? So that's how that conversation might go. But again, you can be prepared for this, but obviously what we're talking about is an exception. All right, who's next, Andrea? Let's take a couple more.
Just on a side note, you made me think of something Craig used to do. He would call around the time school would let out, so he would get the kids, and if the parents weren't home, more than likely the kids would give an office phone number or a cell phone number.
Landlines, if you're calling landlines and you're calling home phone numbers, then yeah, that's definitely something that would be more prevalent. If most of the time we have cell phones, it means most of the time you are actually reaching the person that requested the information. And that's what we find, is that in 2016, people have cell phones and they give their cell phone number. If they're going to give a number, they're given a cell phone number 9 out of 10 times. When you call that number, the person that requested the information is answering the phone. On the 1 out of 10 times it isn't, well, you can be prepared for that.
And if you're running the divorce report and the spouse answers, you might want to be a little careful. I always remember Rick saying that.
Yes, your wife requested the divorce report.
That's right. I don't know if you know or not.
You know, as a courtesy. Right. Yeah, that could be sticky, so you have to be careful about that.
All right, our next question from Laura is a follow-up. She's saying, so my landing page to attract, I have my leads, my printed material, I have their names, and can share that cost. I have their names on my website, and they can have links there. I capture names and phone numbers off my own website.
Yeah, listen, so you've got pages on your website that are designed to offer specific information on the various lead generation ads that you're running. Those pages have nothing to do with you or with any kind of sponsored affiliate or anything like that. They are completely separate. That's where we're going to generate our leads. Anything else on your website, sky's the limit. You can promote yourself, your USPs, your affiliates. They can have their own page. You can advertise them on your home page. But the benefit to you of them doing that is that they are offsetting the cost of your marketing. They can actually send you money to contribute to your marketing because you're allowing them to advertise there, and thus offsetting the cost of you running your ads. And it's funny that here's what we find. As we get up into our platinum level and our higher experienced and producing members of the system, ironically, we find that they pay less and less for their lead generation, because the more business you do, the more your affiliates rely on your business, the more they're willing to contribute to the marketing that generates the business in the first place. So the ones that could afford the ones who could afford most easily to run ads, ironically, don't have to pay for them. And the ones that can least afford to run ads are the ones that have to pay for it all by themselves. That's unfortunately the way it goes. However, there is a method to the madness, and you know what you're building towards. The more business you do, the more leads you generate, the more affiliates will be interested in the business that you're generating, the more likely it is that they can contribute to the very marketing that produced that business. And then you're on the road to eventually creating so much leverage that all the leads that you're generating to your business is free. You're not paying to generate the business at all. And we have countless dozens of students of the system that have their business set up exactly that way.
Okay, just before we go on, I do want to remind everyone we have a lot of webinars scheduled this week, a lot of trainings, really good ones coming up on Wednesday. Why follow up is everything. And a lot of our questions today will be answered by Craig on that session on Wednesday. And then we have another question. Do we have any training on buyer and seller presentations? So in the next couple of weeks, yes, we do. We have our Craig Proctor's VIP buyer presentation, which happens on the 17th. And then 2 weeks after that, we have our ultimate seller presentation hosted by Craig. And he will go through his entire presentation, PowerPoint, slide by slide, exactly what you should say and what he has said in the past.
Awesome. And I want to remind everybody to upload any ads that you'd like us to look at this Friday. Okay, we've got our ad clinic session as always, and Thursday, of course, we do our role play as we always do. So you don't need to really prepare for that. Just be there, and we'll do role playing with anyone who wants to volunteer and take any of your follow-up related questions. So that's a really good idea, and I know that we get massive participation there, which is great to see. But we'd like to get more participation on the ad clinic sessions, which means uploading your ads to the ad clinic file so we can see how you're generating your leads. If you dare say I'm not generating leads but you don't send in your ads, then that's criminal. Right? If you are generating a lot of leads and you want to learn how to refine and maybe do a better job, that's one thing. But if you're trying to generate leads and you're struggling with that, you need to send us in what you're doing so that we can critique and make it better. And I assure you we will. So, Andrea, thanks so much for your help today, and thanks to everybody for coming on. We'll start the week off in Craig Proctor mode. That's why we do these webinars every Monday morning. Get your brain in Craig Proctor mode to start the week, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the upcoming webinars, and eventually seeing everybody in person at the various live events that we have coming up. So, thanks, Andrea, for your help here today, and thanks everybody for joining us.
Thank you, James. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Talk to you all very soon on your next training session. This officially ends the helpline for today.